What communication style do you naturally use, and is it hurting you or helping you achieve your goals? When you understand your communication styles and how you use them, it can help you achieve your goals and be more successful. So in this episode, you'll discover the 4 communication styles, which one is you and which ones were learned, as well as examples for each one of them. Let's get to it. When I was 22 years old, I had 2 job offers, and my dad insisted that I honor that very first job offer that I said yes to, that I signed and said I will be going to that job. But guess what? I changed my mind and I disobeyed my dad for the first time. And I told him in tears, and I was also trembling, it's my effing life, because I felt very pressured to do what he asked me to do, but it wasn't what my heart desired. Now, this strong, opinionated man, that's my father, suddenly softened for the first time in my life with me, and he shifted 180 degrees and started to reassure me of my own decisions. For me, it felt like a ritual of passage into my independent adulthood. For the first time, I could make my own life choices, but that also required speaking up for myself, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because, like many of you, I'm a recovering nice people pleaser. I'm passive aggressive as well, a little bit. I was always afraid of bothering people. I felt guilty saying no or prioritizing my needs. My identity was all about helping and serving other people. I felt misunderstood, and I felt like people didn't value me or didn't value my input and didn't have a lot of respect for me either. I worked really hard, but got passed over for promotions and opportunities. I was exceptional at listening to people, but I didn't talk much. I wasn't great at expressing myself, but I was really good at expressing appreciation and giving people compliments and making them feel good about themselves. But I didn't like giving constructive feedback. I didn't like sharing my expectations, hard news. And I was very indecisive because I didn't want to disappoint other people in their expectations of me. But then as I learned assertive communication, I realized that version of myself was never the real me. It took a while, but I figured out that the most authentic version of Ivna actually has a lot of goals, like having a voice. I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be happy. I like feeling respected by others. I didn't necessarily want to be always aiming to work more hours than everybody else, work harder than everybody else, and be the least recognized. I wanted impact. I realized that embracing power was a way for me to increase my impact and my contribution. The real Ivna wanted to be open and clear about her expectations of people because she valued her time and didn't like her time to be wasted because of unclear communication. Real Ivna knows and knew at that point that she wanted to make decisions and that she would make decisions for herself. She also knew that she would make mistakes, and that was perfectly okay. And the real Ivna was more willing to take risks. I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to learn about their communication tendencies and how they can find their assertive voice, which is there. It's them. Because assertive communication is empowerment. So today we're going to talk about what influences your communication style, the 4 communication styles, and what they look like, as well as examples for each. It's important to understand the way we communicate because, believe it or not, the style you naturally gravitate towards might not be actually truly you. It's often a different version of you that's not the authentic you, shaped by societal influences, expectations, upbringing, and experiences that you've had. If you were rewarded to be the nice, obedient girl like I was, you might grow into a passive woman, for example. Here's some examples of things that you might have heard as you were growing up that might have led you to being a bit more passive than usual, a bit more submissive, a bit more quiet, a bit more people pleaser than is ideal for you. You're such a nice girl. Right? We hear that we're a nice girl and we think we need to be a nice girl. But the thing is, it's important to be kind, yes, and respectful, but it's also important to stand up for ourselves. And that message we didn't hear as much as be a nice girl, or you're a nice girl, or be a good girl and don't make a fuss. But speaking up for what you believe in is not making a fuss. And we forget that as we grow up. Or it's not polite to argue, but healthy debates can lead to better understanding and solutions. Or maybe you've heard, don't be selfish. But taking care of your own needs is never selfish. It's absolutely necessary, because if you don't, who will? Maybe you've heard, just let them have their way. It's easier. But compromise, here's the thing, compromise, yes, it's important in business, it's important in life, but so is asserting your perspective. Otherwise, people are going to walk all over you. Maybe you've heard, don't cause trouble. And the thing is, addressing issues directly can actually prevent bigger issues and problems going forward. Maybe you've heard, just go along with it and keep the peace. But the reality is that true peace comes from resolving issues, not ignoring them, talking about it, not ignoring them, facing them head on, even if it's scary. Maybe you've heard, it's better to be seen, not heard, or show, don't tell. Here's the thing, your voice and opinions are valuable and deserve to be heard, and you need to show. So your work should speak for itself. That's another one. If you don't highlight your achievements, what's going to happen? You're not going to be recognized. It's your responsibility to highlight your contributions, to help other people recognize them, because people are busy. Another one that a lot of us hear when we're growing up is, good things come to those who wait. And yes, patience to some degree is great, but good things come to those who take action and pursue their goals and speak up on behalf of their goals and advocate for their goals and their needs. Maybe you've heard, patience is a virtue. And definitely patience is important, but so is taking initiative and not waiting for other people to do things for you, or to things to land on your lap. Maybe you've heard, don't rock the boat, but challenging the status quo can lead to a lot of positive change. Maybe you've heard, don't toot your own horn, but sharing your successes is going to help you advance and contribute more and do more for others and inspire others and inform others. Maybe you've heard that modesty is the best policy, but is it really? Confidence and self-advocacy are going to help you with your career advancement. It doesn't mean you don't need to be modesty, but you don't have to be modest all the time, because it's not going to help. You need to balance that. Maybe you've heard that if you do a good job, people are going to notice. But people are going to notice when you effectively communicate things to them, your achievements to them. Don't assume that people revolve around you in your life and your achievements. They've got busy things, busy lives. They have a lot going on. You need to bring it to their attention. Maybe you've heard, don't ask for praise. It will come naturally. But when you request feedback, it can actually help you grow and be recognized. And finally, maybe you've heard, being pushy isn't attractive. But here's the thing, assertiveness is about being transparent, clear, and respectful. It's not pushy. A couple of other comments that some people might have heard growing up that could lead to a bit of passive aggressiveness is, just do it, but you don't have to like it. Or don't be so sensitive. Smile and be nice, even if you're upset. Don't let them know they got to you, or just deal with it quietly. Some comments that might have led you to be more aggressive are, you have to be tough to get what you want. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Winning is everything. Show them who's the boss. You're the boss. Now, the way you've learned to communicate as a child might not be helping you achieve your goals or get the recognition that you deserve. But don't beat yourself up over it, because it's not your fault. Nobody really teaches us this stuff at school, at university, or even at work. Unless you're actively learning the right communication skills, it's easy to stay stuck in patterns that don't serve you well and that are not you. So let's explore these styles and discover how you can communicate more effectively. Passive communication. When you are more passive in your communication, you're avoiding rocking the boat. You don't like confrontation or conflict. You think that you don't want to cause any trouble. You don't want to upset anyone. Your needs come last. You really don't take care of yourself. You don't prioritize yourself. You're soft in your communication. You're hesitant. And you might say, it's okay, I can do it, even when you're overloaded. But you do have some superpowers as well, which are your listening skills. You're a very good listener. You can take in information and not interrupt people. And that makes people feel heard and valued. You're an active listener, you pay attention, and people love talking to you because you're such a great listener. You're very empathetic as well. You prioritize other people's needs, which makes you naturally empathetic. You think about them. And so you're very considerate and attuned with other people's feelings. And you're also very flexible, which makes you very adaptable. And you go along with the group decisions, which makes it you're easygoing in team settings in a lot of situations. However, deep down, people with passive communication style like myself, before I did the work on myself to be more assertive, they want people to appreciate them for their selfless efforts, but then feel overlooked and undervalued. They always hope that by saying yes and avoiding conflict and confrontation, that they're going to be seen as being cooperative and kind. And that's how they want people to label them or see them. They rarely talk about their accomplishments. They rarely assert their value, which means their contributions go unnoticed. And here's the thing, it's quite ironic, but this selflessness behavior is actually quite selfish because it's driven by a desire for unspoken recognition and appreciation without you having to do anything for it, without you having to speak up for it and show what your value is. You expect people to recognize you, but you don't say anything. Now, the passive aggressive communicator is one level beyond. It's actually better than passive for you because at least you're trying to move things in the right direction, but you're still not willing to speak up. You're frustrated, you're upset, you're angry, but you don't express it directly to people. You're always thinking, I'll let them know I'm upset without saying it, right? You do indirectness. You might smile and nod, but later you might make a sarcastic comment or do the task half-heartedly. Your words might have a hidden sting to them, leaving other people confused and somewhat uncomfortable. Passive-aggressive individuals in their communication wish their needs were met, but struggle to voice them openly. Tend to be that as well. That was my second level of communication. And you're trying to break free, but you're still not comfortable speaking up. But even passive-aggressive communicators have some superpowers. They're really good at reading between the lines of unspoken dynamics. They can pick up on underlying tensions and nuances that others might miss. They're very good at reading the room and reading people. They're very resilient as well. They can deal with their frustrations internally, and they can be very resilient. And they're also very creative at problem solving in the sense that they find indirect paths to do things to get what they want. So they do think outside the box so that they don't have to express their feelings and what they want directly. But the problem is when you are passive aggressive in your communication, you generally feel frustrated and underappreciated, but instead of addressing it directly, you express dissatisfaction by sarcasm, backhanded comments, and other things that don't help the relationship. Passive-aggressive communicators want other people to understand that they're unhappy without having to confront it head on and talk about what they do want to change. So this indirect way of communicating creates a lot of confusion in people and resentment. And it could avoid direct conflict, but it will definitely damage relationships and trust in the long run. Now, aggressive communication, we probably know some people like that, is someone who charges ahead, asserts their dominance, think I have what it takes to get what I want, and I'm going to get it no matter what. They're loud, they're forceful, they're intimidating. They're thinking, I'm going to do it my way, or do it my way, or else this is going to happen. And they make people feel attacked. They feel attacked by almost anything, and then they attack people. They crave a lot of respect and control, but they alienate people with a very confrontational way of dealing with problems. But they do have some superpowers as well. They are very goal-oriented. They're highly focused on achieving their goals. They're driven, ambitious, and they push themselves and others to succeed. They do come across as strong leaders because of their confidence and their decisiveness, because they move forward and make hard decisions. And they're very direct. You know what they're thinking. You know what they want. They're very forward. They're not afraid of saying what they want and what they're looking for and what their expectations are. So they demand respect and control, thinking that's the best way to get through what they want, get the outcomes they want, but it's very forceful and dominant. And They think that being direct and assertive means being loud and confrontational. They haven't figured out the nuances between the two. And often this really damages relationships and creates a hostile, negative environment that disempowers people. And so this can backfire and lead to isolation and conflict, which is very counterproductive to their goals. And finally, we have assertive communication. And assertive communicators stand tall and speak clearly. They're confident and respectful of others. They understand their needs and other people's needs are both important. Their ideas and other people's ideas are both important. They're very direct and honest in their communication. They balance their own rights, which they're aware of, and protect with the rights of other people. And they look for win situations. And by doing so, they earn people's respect and cooperation by being clear and fair. The superpowers of assertive communicators are clarity. They're very clear and direct with people. They're making their intentions very understood and their expectations understood. They also aim for mutual respect and are really good at achieving mutual respect, balancing their own needs with the needs of others. And that leads to more collaboration. And they're very good at problem solving because they know how to address issues openly and constructively, which leads to better solutions, more innovation, and resolving conflicts efficiently with other people. So now I want to share with you some examples so you can see what this looks like. So let's say someone interrupts you. A passive response might be, oh, it's okay, you can go ahead. What were you saying? Because you're avoiding conflict by yielding, and you're not asserting your right to speak and to have a say in the moment. If you're passive aggressive, you might say, sure, go ahead. Your point is obviously more important than mine. That's very sarcastic and indirect. It shows that you're frustrated, but doesn't address the issue directly and openly. An aggressive comment might be, stop interrupting me. Can't you see that I'm still speaking here? It comes across as confrontational and disrespectful because the person who interrupts you might not be trying to interrupt you. They just interrupted you because they're excited to have an idea. And so when you speak like that, and you respond like that, you forcefully demand attention and it's not seen as very collaborative or respectful. And assertive might be something like, excuse me, I'd like to finish my point before we move on. I believe it's important for the discussion. It's polite, it's firm. You assert your right to speak without disrespecting others. So that's the difference. And there's no one single way of being assertive or being passive, or being aggressive. There are many different responses that you could have. Now, let's say you're saying no to a request. A passive response might be, I guess I could try to fit it in even though I'm really swamped right now. So it's very self-sacrificing. And you're basically agreeing to doing something that you don't want to do and you have constraints on. You're not prioritizing yourself. Now, the passive-aggressive response might be, I suppose I could do it, but don't expect it to be done well or on time. Or they just don't do it well and don't do it on time, don't even say it. It's indirect, it's hostile, and there's clearly an underlying resentment that's not obvious. The aggressive person might say, hey, no way, I'm not doing that. Do it yourself. That's your job. That's very blunt. That's a bit disrespectful, and there's no consideration for the other person's needs. The assertive response might be something like, hey, I understand this task is important for you, and I have prior commitments that require my attention, so I won't be able to take this on right now. It's clear, it's respectful, it acknowledges others, sets boundaries. That's the difference. Here's one more example for you, asking for a mentorship opportunity. So a passive request might be something like this. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if you might have time to mentor me, though I totally understand that you're so busy. That sounds apologetic, it's hesitant. The person is downplaying their request and seems very unsure about what they want. While the passive-aggressive communicator might ask it this way. Hey, it's okay if you don't have time for me. I'll just figure it out on my own, like always. It's like the poor me approach. It's indirect, it's negative, it's showing frustration, but it's not talking about it directly. It's not a direct ask. The aggressive person might say, hey, you have to mentor me. It's your job to help people like me. That's very demanding. And it's very forceful in a disrespectful way because you're taking away the option of the responder to say yes or no. Now, the assertive request might be something like this. I've admired your work and your leadership style, and I would love to learn more from you. Would you be open to mentoring me? That's super clear, super direct. It's positive tone, respectful, and that's something that you're way more likely to get a yes from. So those are the differences between those four communication styles: passive, passive aggressive, and assertive. And the real you is assertive, but you have to find it. It takes a while because of all of those learnings that we had when we were children in the societal norms and expectations. And I invite you to get the course. It's a 30-minute course on how to be assertive at work. That's linked in the description box below. You'll discover 20 strategies to assertively speak up and be a more confident individual and confident with your body language as well, all in half an hour. Now, my father later on wanted me, after my undergrad, my father wanted me to pursue a master's in engineering or technical field like he did. He has a PhD in engineering. He didn't believe in MBA, and I wanted an MBA. He thought MBA was pretty much for losers, people who weren't smart. And he didn't think it was going to help me with anything in my career. He thought that smart people, he saw me as a smart, intelligent woman, should get PhDs in science or engineering. Now, I told him at that point that I understood his perspective and that I valued graduate programs in engineering. And I thought that those people were very smart, in fact, but that it was not aligned with what I wanted for my career. I also shared that I had made my decision and that his support was important to me, but that the decision was made regardless. And he agreed. There was no crying. There was no hiding. There was no drama this time. It was a simple, easy, assertive conversation that was kind, respectful, yet where I asserted myself and I asserted my boundaries. It's my effing life and it's your effing life too. So you need to steer it the way you want it. You need to steer your life and your career. And for that, you have a powerful tool, which is your voice. So embrace that voice, embrace your choices, embrace your career steering, embrace your priorities, embrace yourself like you own it. Be your best advocate, because if you don't, nobody will. And don't forget to enroll in the free training on how to be more assertive at work in the description box below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.